episode, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? In the previous episode, I shared a tale of a principal engineer named Tony Cox at Microsoft that hated everyone from Electronic Arts that was hired into Xbox at Microsoft. I mentioned that he made no effort to know who I was before meeting with me in our first meet and greet, and yet he formed hostile, judgmental views of me entirely from his own imagination. Well, let's get back to what Tony Cox could have easily learned about me. There is so much about me on the internet. For example, Tony Cox at Microsoft needed only type my name in a search browser, Richard Seaborn. Google search would have immediately shown quite a number of things about me. A quick search on the internet would reveal that there are written and broadcast television interviews with me and many products I've worked on. There are videos about games that I've made all over the internet and YouTube, everywhere. There are gameplay videos of my games. There are even places to pirate and download many of my games. Of course, it's not piracy because they are positioned as retro games or classics, not for sale anymore. And so really, publishers tend not to care. So they are just downloaded for free on the internet, usually running in some kind of software retro gamer emulator of some sort. Well, let's be honest, it is piracy. But I, like the publishers, am fine with my old games being enjoyed by as many people as possible. And I am glad that most publishers share my view on keeping old games alive. I have been described as a video game industry luminary, a founder, a pioneer, and an innovator. Admittedly, I have also been challenged, ironically, as a plagiarist of design, not technology. Two games with controversy come to mind: Escape from Hell on a personal computer and Awesome Possum on the Sega Genesis. Let's talk about Escape from Hell first. The gamer community would allege that I used the computer game Wasteland, its game engine and design, to make Escape from Hell. Well, I did not. I created the technology and design entirely independently. I was given user interface direction by the same executive producer who oversaw Wasteland. So there were potentially some similarities in the user interface design because the direction came from Electronic Arts, their executive producer, the same company, the same person that published Wasteland. Anyway, about Escape from Hell. Germany banned Escape from Hell because it had Nazi swastikas visible within Hell. So until we replaced the Nazi swastikas, because we ignorantly put them in Hell. Well, really, it does turn out there is a law in Germany that bans showing swastikas in any product. I also have to tell you, there were death threats. Escape from Hell inspired religious radicals to target Electronic Arts and me for our sacrilege. Yep, me and Salman Rushdie apparently share some similar hatred, just from different sects or religions. Let's talk about Awesome Possum. The gamer community and many reviewers had a lot to say. They extolled the amazing amount of unique sound and spoken voice in the Sega Genesis game, where the protagonist main character, Awesome Possum, spewed verbose phrases everywhere, almost feeling like it was constant. Conversely, there were people and reviewers that found the relentless chatter annoying and offensive at times. They complained the game was not animated as smoothly as the renowned and scripted animations in Sega Sonic or Nintendo's Mario games. They did not like the Protect the Environment theme, especially with the game's tie-in into the World Wildlife Federation and like organizations. Even Robin Williams declined to be our voice for the game, despite his alleged and apparent belief in protecting the environment. In the end, Awesome Possum had the most spoken voice and music and sound effects than any other Sega game of the era. It had many levels and themed areas to explore and, of course, bad guys to vanquish. It was a competitive game for the era that polarized people's perceptions of it. Awesome Possum touched a lot of people's hearts. Awesome became the mascot for Atari Games' consumer division, Tengen. Christmas cards, mailers, advertisements, buttons, and so much more, all made to celebrate and promote the Possum. And there was the lawsuit, where Awesome Possum was unjustly challenged as stealing the idea of the game from a third-grade Midwest school teacher. The lawsuit was eventually summarily dismissed as BS, but it was another challenge for Awesome Possum. My career has been long and storied. Hopefully, many of my tales have been captured in this retelling of my life's journey. There are a few easy places to find information about me on the web. The Gaming Historian has YouTube video of the history of Awesome Possum and the role he had at Atari Games and the consumer division as Tengen's mascot. There is a role-playing game RPG Codex interview for 30 years of my making games and role-playing games. There are television interviews, including the Computer Chronicles TV interview for my first game, Tower of Mirglin, and the stereo card interfaces that it supported. There are IMDb recognition for games and my cinematic connections for writing scripts and other experiences that are Hollywood-oriented. There's Moby Games, which is a large list, albeit incomplete, of many games that I have developed. And there's always LinkedIn, a professional network where I have well over 1,000 high-profile connections, mostly corporate executives, CEOs, CTOs, executive vice presidents and vice presidents, directors, producers, and of course I do have managers and the de facto shop steward influencers. And I of course also have stars from the video game industry and super innovators. In general, you could find me all over the place on the internet. There are multitudes of gameplay videos, interviews, and other commentaries. Even on Truth Social, I am Rick Liberty. I have well approaching 2,000 followers and it's rising every day. There are a vast arrays of reviews, game magazine covers, and so much more. My experience in Microsoft would show that Tony Cox was the top dog of the old guard Microsofties' idiotic hostile perceptions and how they received new hires from Electronic Arts. And there were many within Microsoft that just hated Electronic Arts coming in with any influence. There were some people within Microsoft that outright hated the idea that Microsoft made games at all. And they felt that Xbox was an abomination to Microsoft proper. Somehow, I represented all that Microsoft old guard despised. It seemed like Microsoft threw unnecessary barriers to my success by allowing such hostilities to exist, much less be unloaded en masse onto me and most new hires. In the end, I wish Microsoft old guard were less evil empire and a little more team-spirited.